You've probably heard the names everywhere, right? Ozempic, Wegovy. These drugs have totally shaken up culture, health, you name it. But behind all that buzz, there's one company that really saw this coming and is now sitting right at the center of a revolution. So let's get into the story of Novo Nordisk. And it really all comes down to this: a single pill. But look, this is way more than just a new medication. This little thing is basically the key to the next frontier. It takes the power of a drug that was already changing the world as an injection and makes it simpler, easier, and way more accessible. It's a huge moment in the fight against obesity. Which brings us to the big question we're tackling here. How on earth did a company that spent 100 years focused on diabetes manage to create this global phenomenon in weight loss? I mean, they're dominating a market where so many others have tried and failed. Well, it turns out those two things, diabetes and obesity, are a lot more connected than most of us think. To really get that, we have to start at the exact moment the game completely changed. It all goes back to the launch of one single product that just reshaped the entire landscape. Okay, so in January of 2026, this happened. The Wegovy pill officially launched in the US. And this wasn't just, another option. It was the very first oral GLP-1 drug specifically for obesity. Now, GLP-1s, they're a type of drug that basically mimics a gut hormone to help control your appetite and blood sugar. Being able to put that kind of power into a simple pill, that was a massive leap forward. And what's just wild is how fast this thing took off. I mean, look at this. In just 12 weeks, the Wegovy pill was already hitting almost 50,000 prescriptions a week. It almost matched the launch of its own, blockbuster injection and just completely blew past a major competitor. This wasn't just a good launch, it was an absolute explosion. And here's the result of that explosion. The entire market for these kinds of drugs in the US literally doubled in 1 year. That's not just growth, that's a total reshaping of the industry, and it was pretty much all driven by the incredible demand for these new treatments. So you have a hit product, that's one thing. But what does that really look like in terms of money? Well, that success turns a company into a true financial juggernaut. Just look at this number, 82.3 billion Danish kroner. Now, to put that into perspective for you, that's almost 12 billion US dollars. And get this? That's what Novo Nordisk made in 2025 just from its obesity drugs alone. It's a staggering amount of money, and it just shows you how huge this market has become. And what's really important to get is that this was no fluke. That number, it represents a 31% jump in sales in just 1 year, even when you ignore changes in currency values. For anyone watching the market, that's the real number. It shows you the pure, raw growth. The momentum here is it's undeniable. And all that growth has led to, well, basically total domination. By the end of 2025, Novo Nordisk held an incredible 85% of the entire global obesity market. That's not just being a market leader, that's a level of control that means they get to set the rules for the whole industry. You could pretty much say they are the market. But when you're on top, everyone's coming for you. So how does Novo Nordisk plan on defending that 85% share? Well, by making its own hit drugs obsolete with something even better. Let's take a look inside their next-generation pipeline. So meet CagriSema. This is basically the next big thing. And it's not just a slightly better version of what they already have. It's a combination of two different drugs. And it's designed to be way more powerful for both weight loss and, this is critical, for controlling blood sugar. So just how much better is it? Well, the data really says it all. In a direct comparison, people taking CagriSema lost 14.2% of their body weight. The people on Semaglutide, which is what's in Wegovy, lost 10.2%. That 4-point difference in the world of pharmaceuticals, that is a massive leap forward. But they are not stopping there. As amazing as CagriSema sounds, they've got another drug right behind it that could be even more of a game changer. It's called Semaglutide. It just shows you how relentless you have to be to stay on top. Yeah, the early results for Semaglutide are just wow. We're talking up to 14.5% weight loss, which is already incredible, but check out the blood sugar numbers. Almost 89% of patients hit a really key clinical goal. The data was so good, the company is actually fast-tracking it into the final stage of trials in 2026. So they're dominating the market now, and they have this powerful pipeline for the future. What's the end game here? Where is this all going? Let's zoom out one last time and just appreciate the massive scale of this opportunity and what it means for medicine. It all starts with this number. Globally, there are more than 900 million people living with obesity. It is one of the biggest public health challenges of our lifetime. But here is the crazy part. Of those 900 million people, fewer than 1% are actually being treated with modern medications for it. The gap between the problem and the solution is, well, it's almost hard to wrap your head around. And that gap, that represents one of the biggest untapped markets in the entire history of healthcare. It is a massive global problem just waiting for a solution that can scale. And believe me, the race is on. So how do you close that gap? Well, Novo Nordisk has a really clear three-step plan. First, prove that these drugs don't just help with weight loss, they actually lower the risk of heart attacks and strokes. Step 2, get the official stamp of approval for those heart benefits. And then, step 3, and this is the big one, use those approvals to get insurance companies to cover it, turning it from a lifestyle drug into an essential medicine for heart health. And this quote right here, it gets to the absolute core of their entire strategy. The goal is to completely change the conversation, to get us all to see that obesity isn't a lack of willpower. It's a serious, chronic disease, just like high blood pressure, that needs ongoing medical treatment. That shift in thinking is the key to everything. Which really leaves us with one last huge question to think about. As these treatments get more and more effective, and as they're about to become available to millions more people, are we just watching a new drug become popular? Or are we actually on the verge of completely redefining our entire approach to metabolic health as a whole?